Hello and welcome to my easy to understand guide to postmodernism and narratives. This video is going to be particularly relevant for you if you are studying postmodernism in a little bit more depth, and in particular if you are studying the CIE media specification, because postmodernism is one of the optional topics on the second exam paper. It's important to be able to understand the link between postmodernism and narratives can be thought of in a variety of different ways, and I'm going to talk through all of those in this video. If you have a watch of my video about Lyotard's theory and the death of the grand narrative and these new competing micro-narratives, that might help you with this. The idea is that there is no singular way of doing things now. There is no singular, what we call meta-narrative. There is no done way of doing things. There's no set narrative. There's no rules. We can break those rules and we can do anything we want. One thing typical of narratives in the past was that we often weren't supposed to draw attention to the fact that this is a media product. We very rarely ever saw the camera or the green screen or, the lights or anything in a media product. People didn't really look at the camera. Characters never really talked to the camera. It was considered a bit strange to show that you were aware the audience was there. And actually over the last few years, we've seen a growing rise of media products that show us the construction of the programme, that reveal that the product is actually a construct. So for example, I Don't Care, the music video by Ed Sheeran and Justin Bieber, we see the green screen, the lights, the edges of the studio. They very much draw attention to the fact that this is a filmed music video. In the episode of Inside Number 9 called Wuthering Heist, one of the characters actually talks about the subplot and the script, and she repeatedly breaks the fourth wall talking to the audience. And this is quite unusual. You never refer to the script to the audience because you shouldn't be acknowledging the fact that there's a script and a subplot. So it's about breaking rules. You're breaking the rules of narrative. You're doing things that normally wouldn't be done. In some postmodern products, they actually kind of make a lot of intertextual references within the narrative, and they kind of play around with this idea of pastiche or parody. So they will actually kind of take the typical tropes or conventions of previous narratives and they will play on them and make comments about them. So for example, in the Ariana Grande video, Thank You Next, she takes the typical tropes and typical narrative elements of other media products like Mean Girls and general teen movies, and she makes references to Legally Blonde, and she takes those elements of narrative and she puts it into her music video. Narratives can often draw on pop culture references. In the film and the TV series What We Do in the Shadows, which you'll find on Netflix and Prime, they make lots of intertextual references to vampire films from the past, like Bram Stoker's Dracula and Nosferatu. So kind of drawing on references from other narratives or other cultural products. Postmodern narratives can also be non-linear in structure. They don't just have to go from beginning to middle to end. They can use things like flashbacks, flash forwards. They can have, breakaway mini narratives within the plot. They can have narratives that don't really seem to go anywhere. So postmodern narratives can really jump around and they don't necessarily have to follow a specific structure. If you think about things like the TV show Kaleidoscope, that is a new TV drama on Netflix at the moment, there's no set narrative. You can watch the episodes in any order and they tell a different narrative. They tell a very different story depending on what order you watch the episodes in. So actually, audiences can now manipulate the narratives. We don't expect narratives to be set in stone. Postmodern narratives often feature particular themes. So things of like, what if? What would happen if a technology existed? What would happen if society acted a certain way? And in particular, those themes of technology and technology gone wrong are very popular narrative strands. Jameson is another theorist that you could look up here on my channel. It's very relevant here. Talks about how postmodern media has what we call an ahistorical narrative, i.e. you can take a narrative about something that actually happened and mess around with the facts about what happened. So you could write an entire film like Jojo Rabbit set in the Second World War and Nazi Germany, and you could rewrite history and actually pretend that the character of Hitler was quite a fun, upbeat guy who eats unicorns. So your narratives can be completely ahistorical, i.e. they can play around with historical fact. Narratives in postmodern products do not have to stick to realism. They can be surreal. They can add in odd elements that kind of challenge our ideas and perceptions of what should be happening. So I suppose overall with postmodernism and narrative is the idea that there are no rules. You do not have to do a narrative, you do not have to produce a narrative or write a narrative in a way that is expected. You can do things in a very unconventional, unusual way. So that was my easy to understand guide to postmodernism and narrative. Don't forget to check out my channel for other things that will be relevant for you.